A while ago, I talked about my favorite scene from Xenoblade 2, which it only seems fair that I do the same for Xenoblade 1. And it's also kind of funny that it's kind of directly the opposite in a way, where like 2's you could say is a lot more sad and depressing, while 1's definitely has there's a tiny bit of sad part to it, but it's generally, I would call it like, oh yeah, this is a hype moment. This is one of the coolest moments in the entire game. And that moment being the entire prison island sequence. So where should I even begin with this? Actually, I guess I could begin with like the whole vision that Shulk has after fighting Metalface and unfinished business, that whole fun scene, because that's definitely a fun scene. Dumband's introduction, at least being a permanent party member, but yeah, that's a good scene as well. I could talk about that scene as well. That's a fun scene. Just the whole how obviously when Shulk has the vision, it's bits and pieces, which I just love visions as a whole. I'm probably going to do another day where I just gush about visions because I just really like the concept of it, and I just think it's really cool and how well they do it in gameplay and in story. But I just don't want to really talk about it here because this is about my favorite cutscene. I'm not even there yet. I'm talking about another scene that's trying to build it up to the big prison island point. But the whole vision that Shulk has just shows off Arglass, or I should say Zanza. And then, I think, yeah, Charlotte says, we must be outside the tower. And then Dumbman's like, who are you? And then, obviously, you will pay for what you've done. You will know the pain and suffering you caused the Emperor and Fiora. Such an iconic line. And then, for the entire game, it does take a long time to get to that point, because you have to go through Machina Forest. And, actually, no, you have to go through Satoral Marsh, a tiny bit of Bionis interior, then Machina Forest, and then Erisea, and then Alchemoth, and do all the stuff there, and then you get to go to Prison Island with the whole Mechon attack, which definitely, I'm glad the Mechon attack, because it was technically been a long time since the Mechon attack. You even fought Mechon, because you, the last time, yeah, was Aethermine and the Metalface, and then you go through all that time, I guess to give Telethia some time, which, Telethia are important, for endgame, all that, so I guess, give them some time to shine, and then you go back to Mechon, which, kind of a side note, I kind of wish at least for that point in the story, you would see Mechon, on the ground that you could fight, around Erisea, because, they're fighting, and, trying to, do the Mechon thing, killing, haha, fun. So that would just, kind of a small little thing, I kind of wish they did that, but, I mean, doesn't ruin the whole sequence, because the whole sequence is just absolutely amazing. So, I mean, I can finally start getting there, the little build-up, so, they get to Prison Island. They have a little fun foreshadowing moment when they talk about oh, these look like a Dino Beast, and since Prison Island's related to Zan's, all that, fun little foreshadowing thing. I like that. Xenoblade, good at doing that. I love that. Just love those little details that if you are smart and paid attention, you would know that. But if you're like me, you're stupid, didn't catch on to literally anything until they pretty much immediately show you, or it's one cutscene prior that the big reveal to it. So the whole sequence, they finally go to, I guess it's Zanza. I mean, it technically is Arglass, but, Zanza. They have the talk welcome, true heir to the Monado. I can basically quote this entire game, both games. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. At least to me, it's a good thing, because just in everyday conversation, I'll just use, just say a line from a cutscene and just, nobody will catch on to it. Nobody knows. And if you do know, then, you're just as bad as me then. Back on track. For the first half of the game, actually no, for the entire of the game, I kind of like how, I don't know, it's more at the beginning, but how the Monado, they research a bunch about it with Shulk, and then, there's, the little cutscenes, he has with Dixon, Satoral Marsh, that talks more about the Monado, and I really just like the Monado as, a thing, and just how, all the plot relevancy stuff, because, I mean, this is not really fair comparison, but, Master Sword from Zelda, and I'm not really a Zelda guy, but from the few Zelda games I have played, I just it just feels kind of boring how oh, the Master Sword, the Sword of Legends, it's not the Master Sword. I know it's kind of a really bad explanation. Maybe in Breath of the Wild, I feel it's probably better than that with the whole sword trial. I forgot what it's called. Sorry, you can tell I don't play Zelda games and I'm not really a Zelda person. Dude, being blind, it's hard to see for me in those games. But I just really like how the Monado is just all this importance around it. Maybe just me, and people just, I don't know, don't care for that, but just these little things I really like. And how, like, you know, Xantha talks about, like, oh yeah, the Monado, I made it. And just talks about, like, oh yeah, I used it to fight the I used it to fight the Bionis. No, I used it to fight the Mechonis. And, like, Ryan's like, you beat it with that tiny thing. But I think at that point in the cutscene, it cuts, actually no, he says, no, Xantha says, like, the Monado is merely in shackles, which then it, like, plays the cutscene, or, like, the kind of a, I guess, flashback to, like, Fiora, which I feel like, you know, that's the point when you realize, wait a minute. Monado can't cut people, and it's in shackles. So, like, oh, that's why it's weaker, so maybe when you can do that. But, like, that's also supposed to tell you that, wait a minute, face Mechon, they're, you know, actually no hums. I mean, there's also other details earlier on, with, like, the Metal Face fight and all that, and Zord even says that you beat me without unlocking the true power of the Monado. I mean, that's not really supposed to tell you that it's a person, but I think the Metal Face fight afterward tells you, wait a minute, they could be a person. As you know, with me, I didn't catch on to that. I just thought, oh, they eat people, so that what makes them, like, invincible or whatever, or, like, the special armor. Or, you know, when they say Monado's, like, weakened, it just, you know, is not strong enough to cut the armor. I love how stupid I was. But then, you know, plays the scene with, like, Metal Face, like, oh, catch this, Lanza! Let me throw my Nerf dart at you. Now, in, like, the next, like, kind of prior scene, it's, I mean, still part of the same scene, where, like, you know, Xantha's like, you know, I will release the Monado's power, Shulk. All you gotta do is, like, I ask you nothing. And I love how, like, Melia's the one to, like, tell him to stop. Like, don't do it, Shulk. We can't really trust him. And, you know, she's right. You can't really trust him because, you know, it's Xantha. And Xantha, in the end, you know, is bad. And, you know, I love how my girl's the only one who got her brain on her shoulders, totally. But I kind of like to think, the only reason, like, I mean, it's kind of a weird headcanon thing, I guess you could say. It makes sense. But how Shulk immediately, like, goes through it without no questions asked, pretty much, is because, you know, Xantha's, you know, still in his head, basically, kind of controlling him. And not really controlling, but, like, convincing him to go through with it. I mean, Ryan also says, kind of convinces him to go through it. Just like, hold on, he only said he'll release this new power. Sounds like a good idea to me. So I guess, you know, you could say Ryan convinces him, but I like to think, oh yeah, Xantha's really kind of taking control in the scene. There's just like a lot of scenes in this game that you could think that Xantha can control. I know there's like the obvious one that people like to point out with like, in my head, there are two versions of me. That whole scene after Fiora's death. That's the obvious one, but I also like to think the whole, when Shulk and Ryan look at the Mechonis after Tefra Cave, and like Shulk says, our enemy, I like to think that's like, maybe not, when you would think that, oh, it's Shulk and Ryan talking, he's saying Shulk and Ryan, that's our enemy, Ryan, but I like to think, you know, that's like a Xantha talking to Shulk, or Shulk talking to Xantha saying, that's our enemy. Just, there's like a bunch of little scenes like that are just, you know, fun little details. Just, I love how, like, all the little hints and, you know, all that the game just throws you all these bones. But, you know, trying to get back to the scene, you know, Shulk goes through with it, like, does the, you know, releasing the shackles. I love how he says, Xantha says it, let the shackles be released. The tuh at the end. It's just funny. And then, you know, Metal Face comes in, this party's over, and then just kills Xantha, basically. Not completely, but technically kills Hourglass, but yeah, poor Hourglass. Justice for Hourglass. Then, the big thing in the scene, I mean, there's a lot of big things in the scene with, you know, the silver face mecha coming down and, like, technically, it's not technically, it is Maineth talking to, you know, Xantha, and, like, they do it all telepathically, all that, and then you get to play one of the best songs in just the entire series, Engage the Enemy, with, you'll pay for what you've done, and then, you know, the whole Metal Face fight, and just the cinematography on that fight is just so good. Just, the cinematography, just, not in that fight alone, but just in every fight, it's just so good, and I can't wait for, like, threes, just from, like, the little bits we've seen from trailers, it just looks so good. And Definitive Edition just makes the scene look a lot better. I went back and, like, on YouTube and looked some of the scenes, and I definitely want to look at that scene, and it just looks better in Definitive Edition. Maybe because, you know, I played Definitive, and that's why, you know, I guess nostalgia. It's weird to say nostalgia when it's, like, only been a year. But, like, you know, I guess, and technically, you know, Definitive Edition just looks better, like, graphically, so maybe that's the main reason for me. Or, you know, maybe just I like the Definitive Edition soundtrack a lot more. Actually, that's not fair to say. I like the originals. Originals are really good. Just, you know, Definitive, I just prefer the remaster tracks. But anyways, the whole scene's really good with the whole, like I said earlier, like, what? Who are you? How do you know me? And then let's see if this jogs your memory. And then one thing I absolutely love, that, like, I played the games, I love just tuning into streams of, like, people playing the game. Like, I'll just go on, like, Twitch or YouTube, search up Xenoblade, or just go to the Xenoblade tab on Twitch, and just see if people are playing the game. And this applies for both 1 and 2, but, like, certain points in the game, I just want to see the reactions. And this right here, Prison Island, is always just one of the moments I want to see. Whether, yeah, like I said, if you stream, I mostly do streams, but, like, Let's Plays of people playing Let's Plays, I love doing that. I just love people seeing reactions. And, like, when they say that, a lot of people just go, wait a minute, is it Mumka? It's Mumka! Because, like, that's everyone thinks that. Like, this is the time you should know, wait a minute, it could be Mumka, which, that was the time I figured it out. I was like, yes, I'm so smart. Even though the game teases you so many times. Even, like, the first fight in Colony 9, it teases you that it is Metalface. Because, like, how he acts, like, show not tell, with how he, like, waggles his fingers and how he just acts towards Dunban in that scene. But, I just absolutely love just watching people's reactions. But then in this scene, it may be literally just be me. I know I said earlier at the start that, like, this video not really gonna be a sad cutscene, which this is, like, actually the one part that's kind of sad, with Melia's father, Solwyn? No, that's not Solwyn. I'm sorry, you can tell I've been playing Three Hopes. Solwyn, I mean, it makes sense why I got mixed up with Solwyn. Solwyn, kind of the same name, whatever. They're both, completely different characters, and how one's nice, one's not. But, off topic. I feel like I was just, like, kind of sad with Solwyn. I did, shed some tears, because he was cool. I liked him. He was, he cared about Melia, and especially the scene where he talks to like, I don't want you just to be, like, her protector, I want you to be her friend, and, like, that was just super cute. That was just, aw. Now I'm sad. Justice for Solwyn. Justice for the High Entia, man. Justice for all of them, for Callian too. God. At least we got Melia's alive. And hopefully, not evil. Xenoblade 3, please. I don't want to kill Melia. This is, more of a side note, but just come on, I don't want to kill Melia. I absolutely love her. But that scene where, like, he pushes Melia out of the way so she doesn't get hurt by Metalface, that's such a sad scene. I felt so bad, and, like, I was sad. And then, probably one of my favorite lines, I say this with, like, these videos, but there's so many, I could literally the entire script is a favorite line, but...
Emperor, I failed you.
Heir to the Monado.
Huh? Zanza, you're alive. Give me the power I need.
I am now a mere shell. The power is already yours.
What?
The shackles have been broken. Wield the sword, it bends to your will. Think of your enemy, and the power to defeat them is yours.
Zanza. Mekon. It's not over. The people of Bionis will never let you triumph.
It's changing form! Be careful! We cannot withstand such power!
Shulk!
I'm probably gonna cut it out in a post, but I'll just say, with the power of editing, you'll just see that whole line sequence, because that line sequence of lines is just super good. But, just let you know, maybe I might leave it in, but I just quoted that entire thing and with my dumb Shulk and dumb, Zanza voice. Actually, the internet's not ready for that. They're not ready for my cringe, even though they're watching all these videos, which maybe they're cringe, or maybe they're base. That's for you to decide. The baseness is ours to decide. But when I first played the game, with that whole scene, I was so hyped up. I'm like, yes, we're finally gonna kick Metalface's ass. This is the pain you've caused. you will know the pain and suffering that you caused the Emperor and Fior, which is funny. That's like the first line. Actually, no, that is the first line that Shulk says after that fight, which also, I say also so way too many times. But you know, you will know our names plays in the scene. You know, true combo, engage the enemy into you will know our names. Absolutely just perfect chef's kiss. But then after that whole fight, with like the Monado going Super Saiyan, Mega Evolving, and all that fun stuff, and it becomes insanely long. Like that's imagine if Shulk had that in Smash. Insanely long range. But then, you know, the Silverface Mechon takes the hit from Metalface, which part of the armor gets destroyed, and then like, look at him, the Monado has changed! And then, you know, Zanza talks to Shulk, like, good, now you're feeling it, totally. We swing the blade to your heart's content, and then Zanza and her have their little talk, and then the big reveal of this entire cutscene. One reason why I absolutely just love this scene is the reveal that, you know, Fiora is still alive. And I do absolutely just love how Dunban and like Shulk and just everyone react to this. Like how Dunban's like, it sounds like he's like all choked up and like on the burst of tears, like, Fiora, you're still alive. And then Fiora just basically just not even mention that and just like, Zanza, you have not changed at all. And they have their talk and then like they fly away and then Shulk just like screams after her. Just like, oh, that's such a good scene. You know, when I played that for the first time, I did scream. I screamed like really loud and was like crying like, oh my god, she's still alive. Which is just good on Xenoblade for making me care so much about Fiora in like the very short time that she was around. Like the first like 3 hours, I'll say, 3 or 4 roughly, that I would say for me in the beginning. I don't know exactly, but it was roughly around that. And just how much I cared about her. Even though, I mean, in the end, it took a while for me to realize, but, you know, I like Melia more, which I don't want to start, you know, the whole Melia versus Fiora, that's stupid. They're both, you know, great, I like them both, I just, you know, some people like Fiora, some people like Melia. I like Melia more, but I still absolutely love Fiora, that, you know, makes sense. I don't hate any of these characters. I don't even know why I said that. I don't want to start a war. I don't want to do that. We don't need that in the comments, or just in the community in general. But just, that entire scene is good, and, like, I feel like I wish the chapter should have ended there after that whole reveal. Or maybe they couldn't really do, because like in the original Xenoblade there was no like chapter things. They would just tell you to save after certain cutscenes, which I guess in Definitive they just say, oh, we'll just put that as the chapter names. Or just chapter 1, chapter 2, which, side note, I wish the Xenoblade 1 chapters got names in the port, not port, but in Definitive Edition. Loxton made a video of coming up with hypothetical names, which, you know, is a good video. But, I wish it ended there, because like the next scene, I feel like it would have been a good like chapter starter. I mean, also you could say the ending sequence, because like that sequence I was about to talk about is like Soren's like death with Melia to give like her closure with him, and then how Melia wants to like, all right, we know we need the Mechon pay, which I love how all the party members are effective in a Mechon in a way. Besides Ricky, we're not counting him in this, but how they want to like destroy the Mechon, but you know, like, obviously Fiora is killed by them. I guess she kind of doesn't apply because she doesn't really want to kill them in the end or go on them, but like, you know, she's affected by them. And then Shulk, Ryan, Dunban want to, you know, go after because, you know, Fiora's death. Then Melia wants to go after them because of, you know, her father dying and all that. And then Charlotte wants to go after them because of Gatto and, you know, Colony 6. Just like that. But then, like, after all their death, I like the Alvis and, like, Zanza talk because, like, at this point in the story, you don't know anything about Alvis. Because, like, he helps you to get Monado purged, but then he can use the Monado, and just how mysterious Alvis is, and how he can like talk to Zanza, and like, is he good? Is he bad? I don't know. And then how Zanza talks, I know for me, I basically just kind of went over my head. I feel like I caught on to that. I'm like, wait, is Zanza like evil? But then I forgot about it because then like Shulk and like everyone was talking about Fiora. I'm like, oh my god, Fiora time. So I completely forgot about that. Coming back, I'm like, oh wait, how did I not remember this? I'm stupid. Now, there's one thing I forgot to mention in the cutscene when Shulk gets like, you know, the upgrade Monado when they release the Chacos. I love how Zanza says, nothing but a god can stand in your way. Which you think, oh, okay, that's like, that makes sense, like, haha, you know, we can kill anything but, you know, a god. And you don't think about that because, you know, in the final boss is Zanza, which is a god. Fun detail. I love that. That's, you know, the cutscene, I would say. That's like kind of my thoughts, experience with it. You know, one of my favorite cutscenes, and I know the video thumbnail and title say, this is my favorite cutscene, but it's not fair. Like I said in the Xenoblade 2 one, I have way too many favorites. Like, you know, the ending of this game, the attack on Colony 9, Unfinished Business. And yeah, I would even say like Alice's like introduction. That part, there's too many good cutscenes. But like this one's just a really good one. And like I kind of also said in the 2 one, I would have picked preferred. Actually, not preferred. That's a bad word choice. But I would like to have done like the ending. But like I cannot do justice to that ending as well, because like, oh, it's so good. But with Xenoblade 3 coming out, I know there's gonna be a scene like this that's gonna be insanely hype. And my prediction, I guess I could say, is that's gonna be like the whole, maybe when we get to the city or a sword march, there'll be a scene like this that's insanely hype, and it'll just be a really cool scene. And I can't wait to just play that game.